The existence of a secret US plot to use Taiwanese independence as bait to lure China into hostilities was just confirmed by a top-level White House source. The plan to create a US-China Cold War was cooked up 20 years ago to boost the budgets of the military machine. And the Vice President of the United States worked to put it into action 2 decades ago, said Col Larry Wilkerson, former Chief of Staff to Secretary of State Colin Powell. Do you notice how similar that is to what's happening regarding Taiwan today? Well, it's not a coincidence. Here's what Wilkerson revealed happened 20 years ago. Then Secretary of Defense Donald Rumsfeld and Vice President Dick Cheney were clamoring to get the Taiwanese leader Chen Shui-bian to cross China's red lines on independence so that China would take action and could thus be blamed for everything that happened.
Donald Rumsfeld and Dick Cheney sent an emissary to Taipei almost weekly to tell CSB to keep doing it. They wanted to cross that red line, which they knew was a red line China would honor.
Wilkerson said he, together with Powell and Richard Haas, told Chinese diplomat Wang Yi that the US would not allow Chen to do that.
We were telling the Chinese, don't listen to CSB. Don't listen to him at all because he is not going to be allowed to do that. We will prevent him from doing that. We would take Doug Powell, our representative in Taipei, ambassador really, but we had to call him a representative, and our ambassador for mostly commercial reasons in Arlington. We had to take them aside almost weekly and tell them this is not the right message. And Powell was taking a real chance here because he was going against the vice president and the secretary of defense. Condi knew about it, but she wouldn't tell the president. When she did finally tell the president publicly, I think it was 2004, publicly rebuked Chen Shui-bian, put him back in his house, if you will. The rep in Taipei, who was Larry DeRita, the chief of staff, or Donald Rumsfeld, was Larry DeRita's wife at that time. She came out, damn earpiece, she came out and essentially said the president didn't mean what he said because she was in this group too. We fired her. We let it out that she was having, problems, medical problems or something like that, but we fired her right off the bat. But we had to fight tooth and nail against the vice president and the secretary of defense from developing a new Cold War with China. That's what they wanted. They wanted a new Cold War with China. They both saw that Cold Wars were very, very advantageous for the United States of America, the defense complex and everything else from whence Cheney came. And therefore, we needed a new Cold War. They didn't want a hot war. I don't think they wanted a hot war, but they wanted a Cold War with China. And Powell spent his entire 4 years, the principal purpose was keeping us out of war with China because the vice president and the secretary of defense did want a Cold War. Now, what did that mean for Bush? Finally, Bush came out and did what he did because I'm convinced, I've never talked to the president about this, and he didn't put it in his book, but I'm convinced he knew the importance to the United States and to our economic structure at that time of China. And I put it this way, he knew the importance of China to Walmart. And so he sided with Powell. Americans don't know this. No one's written about it. He was with Powell every time Powell came down hard with regard to China. And that's the only reason Powell was ultimately successful, because the Secretary of State operating without the imprimatur of the president eventually is going to get shot down, as he did on Israel, for example. But that was how crazy that administration was. They're trying to do all these things at the same time they're baiting China. It's insanity. I don't know any better word for it. Insanity.
The argument shows clearly who is running Taiwan, and it isn't the Taiwanese. Details of the plot are almost identical to what's happening today, with the United States using Taiwan to create tension, which then benefits the US war machine. Now, all this information was revealed during an interview of Col Larry Wilkerson by Alexander McCouris and Glenn Deason. What's remarkable about the information revealed this week is, well, 3 things. First, it confirms how the US sees Taiwan as a tool to use to goad China into war. Second, it shows that the US is Taiwan's boss and tells its leaders what to do and what not to do for 20 years. And third, it shows that the constant disruption of the red lines to upset the status quo that's kept everybody safe in this region, it comes from the West, not from China, which of course is what independent journalists have been saying for years, and is the opposite of what Western journalists have been telling the world. Now that the truth is out, we can dare to hope that East Asia can actually live in peace, instead of being tricked into an entirely needless Cold War or hot war by the United States military machine. Here's hoping for peace.